Hey everyone, and welcome back to our ninth episode. I'm your host Darius,
And I'm Jasmine.
and in this podcast, we're going to be talking about a little bit of everything:
From our lives to relationships and pop culture,
to music, movies, sports, and politics.
and whatever else sparks our interest.
So,
So,
welcome
welcome
to
to
the
the
We're
We're
Just
Just
Saying
Saying
podcast.
podcast. All right, guys. So, this is episode 9. We recorded episode 8 when we recorded episode 7. So, episode 8 came out last week. Episode 9 is coming out this week. So, as you'll see, we're wearing something a little bit different. But we are talking about the second half of the season for Black Mirror, episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then we're gonna release episode 10 shortly after, and it's talking about Sinners. It's kind of when we deep dive into our reaction to Sinners. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the episode. See you next time. Okay, so pretty much this episode is gonna be all about TV and movies. We recently binged Black Mirror. And we originally watched the first 3 episodes, and we were going to include it in episode 7. But our recap / discussion about it was pretty long. It was like an hour. So I was going to make the episode way too long. So we're going to include that in this week's episode. And then we're just going to recap / discuss the last 3 episodes. And then we went to go see Sinners on Saturday. I made sure that we saw it in IMAX, even though we didn't get to see it in the 700 or 70 millimeter or whatever it is. IMAX.
I think the closest one was like in Indiana. So.
Yeah, it was Indianapolis. Yeah. So we didn't get to see it the way that Ryan Coogler filmed it, but we still got to see it in IMAX, and it was Chef's Kiss. So can't wait to talk about that as well. So let's go ahead and get into the last 3 episodes of
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, thank you. I don't know why I'm losing my brain cells today. I'm a little tired, everybody. So let's see. Let me go. Episode 4 is called Plaything, and it's starring Peter Capaldi, Louis Ribbonnon, and James Nelson Joyce. And why are you laughing? Because of the people?
No. So we're gonna go a little bit behind the scenes here, y'all. She wrote an outline for this, and it is crazy the amount she has who starred in this, and it's just like I don't know who none of these. She could have made up any name because I don't know who none of these people are.
Character he played Cameron. Well, I listed who was starring in the other episodes because some of these people are well known,
right? No,
and some of these people aren't known in the U.S. They're British actors.
No, and I'm saying it as like an ode to you for the research that you put in, because it's like I would not have done any of that. I would just give y'all character. Well, I wouldn't even give you character names. I'd be saying the main dude.
And well, I wanted us to be a little,
I guess it's
a little professional, so I decided to put that in there. But yeah, so that's who it's starring, and then we do have a little summary. Do you want to read the summary, babe, or you want to summarize the summary?
I'm gonna have
or you want me to do it?
I can read the summary if you want. If you okay with that?
Sure. It's not properly worded.
It's all right. I can figure it out, and let's just see how this goes. Okay. Cameron Walker is arrested for shoplifting. And the detectives link him to a murder of an unidentified man. To reveal the identity.
That's stuff for you to follow, but you still had to give it your own life. Because remember, we watched this already, so you got to be like, crazy looking dude. Or you remember how like he walked in, you got at your own because he was in a liquor store, right? Or did he try to steal?
Okay. So all right, I got you. I told you I was gonna read the summary. All right. So we'll break that over again.
Oh, you want to credit?
I'm editing. Yeah, I'm editing all of that. Okay, you can keep it for a blooper or something. Well, I guess I'll edit this one since you just did the last one, so don't worry about it. Okay. All right, so you got Cameron Walker, who is like a homeless-looking man, right? And the episode kind of starts off with him getting arrested for shoplifting. And while he's in there, he's like kind of linked to a murder of an unidentified man. And he won't reveal the identity of the unidentified man. In order to reveal the identity, he goes like back in time to tell a story about like how about how he came to be and where he started off. So
How he got confident is what we're talking about,
was he
right?
confident?
Yeah, because
Okay.
remember he kept saying how like he wasn't always this confident.
Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe that was the case. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So he was. I guess he was building his confidence. He was working at like a video game review office building type of thing. Like they play video games and he would write reviews on them. Um. Uh. Uh. Tales detective. Okay. So he's in an interrogation room with a detective and a therapist. And then he talks about his past as a video game reviewer, where he got introduced for this very popular game maker.
Yeah, it was
Um,
really weird.
yeah, who was really weird about pretty much a game called like Brongles, which is kind of like it kind of reminded me of like a Sims type of game.
It reminded me like a Gigapet
Okay,
almost, like a Gigapet or
I'll
some
give you
or a
that. Like
Nanopet or something.
I'll give you that. It's like Gigapet Sims. I would put a crossover of Gigapets and Sims because you have to like take care of them and well, I guess Gigapet have to do the Sims because they didn't have to get a job. I don't think, right?
No, you just had to make sure they were happy.
Okay. Well, yeah. So pretty much he goes to try the Throngo game out at home, and he pretty much becomes like attached to it, like emotionally, and a little like obsessed with it. It kind of gave me like he was kind of like a godlike figure to them. You know what I mean? Because they didn't worship him, but he was giving them all that they need.
I felt like it was the opposite. I felt like he kind of got attached to them because he really didn't have a lot
Going
else
on for him.
going on in his life. So I felt like this was like his way of like being able to like have a purpose.
Uh-huh. Okay, I can see that. I can see that way, and I can see it like I felt like it was kind of like he kind of felt like a god, and it's but for the same reason, like because he didn't have a purpose. So now it's like now he's like responsible for people and or things. Throngles. We'll go with Throngles. Uh,
Tronglets.
Thronglets. Okay. Why I've been saying Throngles? I don't know. All
Oh.
right. So anyway, so like I said, so he's pretty much obsessed with this game and pretty much this drunk drunk this dude who pretty much is a drug dealer comes to stay with him for like the weekend or a couple of hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And in the drug dealer staying with him, pretty much he tries was it LSD?
Yeah, they do drugs together. I
Yeah.
think it was LSD.
Yeah, I think they did some kind of drug together. We'll say it's LSD, but insert another drug here. And through taking LSD, he was actually like able to communicate or try to or understand the Thronglets language, which made him
Even more attached.
even that made him even more of a drug addict as well.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, so pretty much, so yeah, so he gets addicted to the game. He gets pretty much is doing drugs to communicate with the Thronglets, and pretty much one day his boss is like, "Hey, we need you in here because you were supposed to review this game." The drug dealer friend is still living with him, and so
Yeah,
when
Cameron goes to
yeah,
work and his
so
friend's still at that moment. So,
yeah, so and the friend is in the apartment by himself, and while looking for like a lighter, he stumbles across the game that Cameron actually tried to hide before he left to pretty much go to work. And the friend starts playing the game, but he starts doing like some horrible shit to the Thronglets. Like he was
yeah.
like splatting them, like crushing them,
Set
putting
them
them
on
on
fire.
fire.
Some weird shit.
Yeah. So yeah, he just really went crazy on that. So then pretty much Uh, after that, Cameron pretty much goes crazy, and well, not gonna say he goes crazy. He pretty much dedicates pretty much the rest of his life to trying to like
Well, he
advance.
kills the friend.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. He kills the friend. He does kill the friend
He
who
killed a
that was the
friend.
unidentified.
Yeah.
So
He called him Lump. Lump was his name.
yeah.
And that's the only way he didn't know his actual real name.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I forgot
And
about.
he kills Lump in the end, becomes like an errand boy for the Thronglets.
So he's like buying video games and attaching them to his computer to make it like more powerful, and he's got this like really super sophisticated computer set up at his house that's like requiring like a bunch of energy and stuff. And pretty much
So one thing that's important is that when he got arrested, he had a pen and a piece of paper with him, and they took that away from him when he got arrested. So while he was being interrogated, he kept asking for a pen and paper.
Okay. Yes, that's true. You're gonna have to, because I can't really remember the importance of that.
Oh well, it's how the episode ends, because we pretty much at the end now.
Okay. So, and during the full interview, I think he's asking the detectives for pen and paper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he just wants to show them something.
yeah, but they refuse to give him pen and paper till about the end. He finally convinces the detective and therapist. Well, the therapist, I think, convinces the detective
Yeah.
to actually give him a pen and piece of paper, and he pretty much draws a code that allows him to hack into the government's computer system, and pretty much the Bronco can take over because he like shows it to the computer, and that's how they're able to do it. And the Broncos pretty much get into everybody's minds, and is it killing them?
No, so pretty much what he did was he wrote down, like, it was almost like a QR code on a piece of paper, and he showed it to the security camera that was inside the interrogation room recording it in interrogation, and it like hijacked the system, and it let out like a sound.
Yeah,
It was like a sound, and the sound was supposed to like reprogram everybody's brain and make them like a part of the Thronglets. So like now it was kind of like a hive mind. Like everybody was like, because remember he kept saying like he was a part of them. He could like feel them. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, that's pretty much the end. This episode reminded me of the last season of the 100. Because the last season of the 100 pissed me off.
before we get too deep into the 100, that's what they were in space.
They were in space, and then they went back to Earth. They sent the bad kids down to Earth and realized there were still people living down there.
Yeah,
And
so
then,
start out. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, with that said, then what was your overall like view of the episode?
I thought it was interesting. It definitely wasn't one of my favorite episodes. Especially the ending. I thought it was just kind of like I wanted to see a little bit more
Of like,
of what was happening out there. Hive mind. It just kind of like ended there. Like everybody had the sound, and then that's it. Like I feel like we could have had maybe like another 5 minutes to see like if the Thronglets actually make the world better. Like, were people like, did we stop violence and we cured hunger and everybody, is equal distribution of wealth, or is everybody in a coma, like comatose?
yeah,
Like,
I get you on that.
I would have wanted to see like what exactly was the Thronglets' plan to save humanity and make the world better. Or is everybody getting computer parts and building it to make it bigger? Like, what the fuck are they doing? What about you, babe?
No, so I actually thought it was a pretty interesting episode. I would say it's not my favorite, but I would say it's like probably my fourth favorite episode. Maybe third. Once we go through and we recap, I can really place it. But the thing about the ending is, like, I do agree with you. It was like it was a unending ending, where like you are kind of interested, but I do think that's like a ode to Black Mirror and like some of their shows, because then it's just like,
Do you think they would have a part two?
they possibly could. I think they will, if they did the USS Space Odyssey,
Callister.
Callister, yeah. So I hope that there's a second episode that comes with that, because then that'd be pretty dope. But I know normally they don't do second episodes.
Yeah, no, they
So
normally
if it's open to the public, or if it's open ended, choose your own ending there.
don't. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. Anything else you gotta say about episode 4?
no, I'm gonna say this: it's thronglets, not
Yes.
Throngies. What was
I don't know what you
no,
were saying.
Throngles. I was calling them Throngles.
It's Thronglets.
Yeah.
So then episode 5 was called Eulogy, and I actually really liked this episode. I thought it was sweet, also sad, and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like a lot of people live with regret. Do you want to recap this one?
No,
You
I'll
want
let
me to
you.
do it?
I'll let you
Okay.
do this one.
So this episode, Eulogy stars, Paul Giamatti and Patsy Ferran, and so it's pretty much like what mostly just like two people that are the main characters. So it's this guy named Philip, and then Philip gets in the mail, or does he get a phone call?
I think it was a phone call.
Yeah, it was a phone call first asking him or letting him know that ex-girlfriend of his, Carol, passed away, and that they're gonna have a funeral service for her, and they were asking if he would be interested in adding to her eulogy, like adding to a memorial service. And so he's not sure because he hasn't seen her in a while. So they say, well, we're gonna send you a packet. You know, if you decide you want to do it, then you just go ahead and upload to the service or whatever. So when the packet comes in, it's pretty much like a little chip that connects with his brain, and it will like essentially like record his memories of Carol and like store it and then upload it to the eulogy system so that they can add it to a memorial service. And while he's doing that, he also has a guide, and the guide happens to be Carol's daughter. You don't find that
Dun, dun,
until
dun.
because of the
I know, you gave
the
the reveal.
product line.
You gave the reveal.
Oh, I thought you
away.
meant Carol's daughter because Carol's daughter is a hair product.
Oh, there's a hair product called Carol's daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Carol's daughter is the guide, like the image of her is the guide in Philip's mind, and it's helping him to go through the memories. So essentially, it starts off where he cannot remember Carol because even though Carol was kind of like the love of his life, he hates her.
hmm
I think they only dated for like a year or two. Like it was like a really
was short,
quick, like they
but there's-
met, fell in love, and then like crashed and burned. So it follows the story of him meeting her, falling in love, and then how they ultimately ended up breaking up. Um, so it starts off with him meeting her at a park. Well, he's pulled out a box of pictures because he couldn't really have any memories of her. So he pulled
Right.
out some pictures of her, but he had cut out or scratched out the face of her in all the pictures, so he still could not remember what she looked like. So then they just started like putting him inside the picture. So like the thing inside his hair would like put him physically there to kind of like walk him through to see if he could like jog his memory and remember more of what's going on. So it starts in where they met at like a party. I think they were in college, and then they started hanging out more. And then I think it jumps to like Halloween where they're hanging out like at a bar, and he works at a bar, and then there's another girl there that he's kind of flirty with or whatever.
But she was flirting too.
Allegedly, the way that the daughter points it out in the photo is that Carol looked uncomfortable. Like the dudes were like leaning towards her and she was like leaning away. And then in another picture, you see that Carol got up and walked away from those men. But Phil was still like with the other girl, kind of like flirting and canoodling with her.
His coworker.
His coworker. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was his coworker. Why are you defending?
I'm not defending him at all. I'm just putting.
You all on Philip's side.
I'll just say
So anyways, Carol was a musician. What did she play? Was it the cello? I think that she played. Yeah, I think she played the cello. I can't remember 100% what instrument she played, but she did play an instrument. She was a musician. Her dream was to join the orchestra. I think she ended up missing her tryouts or something like that. I can't remember exactly what happened while she.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember. No, I'm sorry. I just remember what you're saying. I can't remember why she missed either. Wasn't it something with the field though?
Yeah, I think it's something with Philip where she ended up missing like her audition, or she ended up messing up her audition or something like that. But anyway, she ended up getting a job in England, and so she decides she's gonna go over there. Which of course they're like at that point they're gonna have to do a long distance relationship.
Right. 'Cause at that point they had moved in together.
Yeah.
They like painted a whole apartment, and then she was like, I'm moving to England to work to do her dream.
Right, to pursue her dream. And so he supported her, even though, they figured that they would figure it out. He can come visit her, she can come back home and visit, blah, blah, blah. So one day, or it was actually Philip's birthday. So she calls Philip and, to wish him happy birthday or whatever. And the girl, why can't I remember the
Oh,
co-worker,
the
the
coworker.
co-worker's name? But the co-worker and Phil are hanging out at his apartment in his bedroom together alone. And so she ends up picking up the phone when Carol calls to wish her man a happy birthday. And so, of course, because Carol already feels some type of way, she gets pissed off at Phil. Like, why the fuck is this bitch in your room on your birthday answering your phone? And this was like, what, the 80s or something like that?
I
Or
think
the
it started
90s?
off in like the 80s or
It
90s.
was like the 80s or 90s when this takes place. So it's like, you don't really have like a lot of cell phones. This was like a house phone that she answered. Or a landline, I guess I should call it. It was a landline that she
House phone
answered.
landline.
Yeah.
Sound good.
And so Carol gets mad, and so she ends up cheating on Philip that night with like somebody who was also in the orchestra, one of her orchestra mates. She has a one night stand, and so then Philip, is feeling really bad about the situation that happened on his birthday. He knows he's getting ready to go visit Carol. So then he flies to England. He plans like this. He rents out this really nice hotel for her to stay in, for them to stay in together, and then he makes a reservation at a really nice restaurant. They end up meeting up together, and he gets down on one knee to propose to her, and she gets up and she walks out of the restaurant. And so Philip takes that as rejection, like, she moved over here, she doesn't want to be with me anymore, she's starting this new life. So he goes back to the hotel. He's so mad. He's like throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
He ends up getting on a plane the next day. He goes back. He never sees Carol again.
And he trashes the hotel room.
Yes.
Like he trashes their hotel room before he leaves.
Right. And so then, he's what happened? I can't remember exactly what happened. Carol's daughter ends up noticing something on the floor inside the picture, because remember when he looks at a picture, she can take him inside the picture. So
Right.
he has a picture of stuff like all over the floor inside the image. So she kind of points something out, and so he ends up. I can't remember if Carol's daughter mentioned that she wrote him a letter, or
I think she did say like I think she left you a letter, and then he said he never got
he
a
never
letter.
got it. And so then he runs upstairs, checks his box of stuff that he has, like the collection of stuff. He ends up shaking it out, and he ends up finding the letter that Carol wrote him. And pretty much Carol confesses to him like, hey, I cheated on you. I had a one night stand and didn't mean anything. I regret it, but now I'm pregnant. I really want to keep the baby. I'll understand, if you don't want to ever see me again, but I really care about you and I would love to, continue our relationship. If you really love me and you want to work this out, then meet me the next day at whatever location she had picked. Well, again, Philip did not get the letter, so he never went to go meet Carol. Carol assumed that Philip read the letter and didn't want anything to do with her because she was having a baby by somebody else. So he went on with his life. Carol stayed in England, had her baby, and ended up raising her daughter and playing music, and then, of course, passed away. And so it was just kind of like a really sad ending, because it's like, oh man, you could see like him realizing that in his anger, his frustration from throwing the fit, that he missed over that minor detail, and that could have really changed the trajectory of his entire life. Like, now he's always going to wonder, like, could he have spent the rest of his life loving Carol and being with her and raising this girl as his daughter and possibly having other kids? Like, he could have had a totally different life, but instead he was just angry and bitter towards her the whole time.
Mhm. And so it ends with him going to her funeral,
Yeah.
and everybody's there pretty much in like the little head things to I guess live in the memories or to go
Yeah.
back into their memories of Carol.
So it was kind of like an episode that kind of talks about how like technology can help people grieve. I think that was one of the themes, like using technology to be able to like get memories from other people. But then it really hit on like regret, like how realizing like some small Which I feel like people probably think about it still to this day. It's like, certain things that they've done in their life and they turn around and look and they're like, if I would have never met this person, if I would have never took that job, or if I would never would have moved, or if I would have, you know, finished school or whatever the case may be, like, then their life might be different. But can't go back in time.
Yeah. And I think there's one thing I think we might have missed that they kind of touched on. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be big, but Phil was also kind of like an alcoholic. He was like kind of a
Oh yeah,
violent
he
and
was.
alcoholic. Like
He
he
was
would
an
always,
alcoholic while they were in a relationship.
yeah. So he would always like have like a drink, and then he would, they showed a few times where he would be angry and he would mess pretty much like trash stuff. Um, so yeah, so I think they missed on that because a lot of times he was trying to blame her, but it was like actually he was the angry one, and he
Yes.
was the one, kind of being shitty towards her.
Yeah, it was like a lot of self-reflection that he got to while walking down memory lane because now he was on the outside looking in.
hmm
Yeah.
So now we get to the end. What did you think of the episode?
Like I said, I really liked the episode. I thought that the episode was great. Now that you brought up the other part where it's like being able to look at your life from the outside and like get some perspective on, like, a lot of times people do look back and they sometimes do put themselves in a victim situation. And sometimes it's like reality is we're not always a victim. We have a big part in playing, how our life
Turns out,
turns out. Yeah. And so like I said, uh a part of his regret is that he threw such a tantrum in the hotel room that he missed that minor detail that could have changed the trajectory of his entire life. That one little moment of him being so angry and so blindsided by rage that he lost the love of his life. But yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought it was a beautiful, sad episode.
I wasn't a big fan of it.
Of course you weren't.
um, I did not like a happy ending in this show. Like I said,
It was a sad ending.
it kind of was a happy ending because he was, he kind of got like the closure that he
Oh, you
wanted
don't
to.
like closure for
No,
Black Mirror only
not for Black
specifically?
Mirror. Yeah, I need no. This is not your thing. All right, you stick to being weird. All right, don't give me
I thought it was great. I
no.
think he needed the closure
Don't.
because he already had so much regret.
I get it. No,
And I don't know if he got closure. He just got to go to the funeral.
from a story perspective, it's a good story. Not for Black Mirror. Don't do that ever again, Black Mirror. Give me my,
What, you want him to kill himself?
No. I want him to.
Just be sad and wallow.
What it was the very first episode of that. I need him to be on camera doing stuff with a pig.
Some episodes that have a happy ending or have like a conclusion.
Right.
Some
But
Black
that's
Mirror
not. I
episodes
don't.
that have
Yeah.
conclusion.
No. It's not that it had an ending. It's the happy ending. Give me my weird ending.
It was not a happy ending. The love of his life is dead, and he's never ever gonna get to see her alive again.
Fine. Don't give me a closure ending.
Or you didn't like that he finally got to remember what her face looked like.
No, I don't. I know that didn't mind me. Like as a story wise, it's a good story. I don't like the story for Black Mirror. All right.
All right, so then that takes us into our last episode of Black Mirror, episode 6, and it's USS Callister Infinity. That was
You just
Into Infinity is
uh,
what it's. Yeah, and so that is starring
a lot of people.
Christina. Oh, I wanted to name the whole cast because they were all from
The first one.
Yeah, from the first episode of this. So it's Christina Milioti, I guess, Jesse Plemons, Jimmy Simpson, Billy Magnuson, Malak Brooks, Ozzy Ickle, and Paul Raymond. And Christina is the one who played Nanette.
Yeah. Sorry, it was just funny. You going through them names. It's just
because there's some long names, some weird names.
They are.
The last names specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Billy is a regular name. Jesse is a regular name. Jimmy is a regular name. Paul is a basic name. It's the last name.
Okay. Now we can do this breakdown together.
Sure. I had a really hard time trying to summarize this episode because there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it up to you.
Well, that's the thing, because because I don't know if we need to bring in the first episode to be in with this one.
We don't really have to. We could just summarize the first episode really quick in like a couple of
Okay.
sentences. Do you want me to do that, or you got it?
I can do that. So first episode, they pretty much work at is it a video game company?
It's a video game company called Infinity. Right.
Sure. um, they pretty much work. So break down. So Christina Milioti, Nanette, Christina Milioti, who plays Nanette, is pretty much a new person at this video game company, Infinity. She plays Nanette. She pretty much gets this job. She meets this really cool, well, not cool. He was a really nice, like part of the owners, but he's like the working owner, where the other owner is kind of like a show off, you know, all about like give me the money type of owner.
This is not a quick.
It is. Let me really quick.
Okay.
I gotta get the introduction in. So pretty much, but the weird owner who does all the work, pretty much is kind of a weirdo. So when anybody does him wrong, he takes like a sample of their DNA, scans it into a DNA fat cloning device, and he pretty much puts them into a video game. So when they show up in the video game, they still feel like they're real people, even though they're technically clones, and they're trapped into this video game world. And so and pretty much he's an evil dictator in that world, and he's trying to, and pretty much they're trying to get out because they still feel like they're real people. So they want to try to get out of there, but they're kind of stuck in the video game world. So the first episode.
Do they know that in the first episode that they're real people?
Yeah. So first episode, they know that they're real people. I don't think that they know that they're clones yet. Well, no, I think they find out that they're clones. Yeah, they find out that they're clones in the first.
I thought he was controlling them at first. Then they found out that
they were. It possibly could have been that. Either way, they found out that they were clones in the first episode.
Yes.
And so pretty much they get in contact with the real life Nanette, who comes in, and she kind of like kills him and traps him into the video. But I don't know if she kills him and traps him into the video game, or kills him in real life. I think he dies in real life. And so after that, they're kind of just stuck in this void of the video game, and as the video game is like becoming live, so there are like actually people playing games who are coming into this world. They have to defend themselves, and and in the second episode, they have to start like robbing people to get money in order to get supplies, video game money to get supplies. You want to take over a little bit from there?
Oh, sure. I didn't know whether or not, because it was a lot that just happened. So I'm a little lost.
So I pretty much ended the first episode. They kill him. He pretty much dies in real life, and so they're stuck in the video game world. And then that's pretty much. And so they're floating into space. And I just went into episode 2 a little bit, just explaining the video game world.
Okay, so they were cloned in the first episode. They're stuck inside the game. They're fighting for their lives to survive because they have no game tag on them. So a lot of the players that are in there are real people that upload themselves into the game. So essentially what the video game is like they put on this thing and it like makes them like feel like they're in a video game. So whatever they're like, if you want to run, they feel like they're running. If you want to jump, whatever the case may be, they can feel all of that. And then if you get killed, then it puts you back in your body and then you can upload back into the game again. So these players are all around the world, and they're getting robbed by these players with no tags. So they're trying to figure out what is going on. The crew keeps getting attacked, so they decide that they need to figure out a way to stop getting attacked. What can they do? So Walt says that there's a server that they can try and like reboot to create a safe space for them, like a different like dimension inside the game for them to be able to join, where they would just be by themselves and they wouldn't have to interact with other people. So now that's their new mission. On the outside,
Annette.
James Walt got interviewed by a reporter, and the reporter pretty much said like, hey, ever since the game creator died, like it's been like a lot of rumors going around about the game, like that there was like a illegal DNA clone machine that you guys owned, and that there's these rogue players inside the game robbing people. Like, what do you have to say about that? So then he gets upset. He ends up kicking the reporter out. Well, Nanette overhears what's going on. She offers to help James Walt by showing him what the rogue players are. He shows him that they're clones, that they're stuck in the game. He pretends like he didn't know anything about it, and so they get in. So then he ends up getting uploaded inside the game for the first time. Nanette goes in with him, and they end up meeting the clone versions of themselves inside the game. And then Walt ends up killing his clone version inside the game, and then pretends to be him so that he can like sabotage the team.
Right, because he wants to kill them in the game, so he pretty much. So that's the only evidence that their company has done something illegal.
Yeah.
One thing too is even though they're in the game, because they're actual like clones, they only have one life, so they can't respawn or anything like that. So that's why they're trying to live pretty much.
Yeah. And so before the original Walt gets killed, he tries to take them to get to the like the heart of the game. And so it's revealed that James ended up cloning Robert, which was the creator of the video game. Like when they first got together, Robert was working in his garage. He was working on a video game. James was like, this will make us a bunch of money. It's like, you need to like expand the game, like create more planets and stuff like that. And Robert was like, it took me so long to make this. Like, it's not something I could do like overnight. Like, it's gonna take me a really long time to do this. So he clones him, puts him inside the game, and then the clone version of him just spends the rest of his existence, which is like thousands of years. I think it's centuries. Like he feels like he's been in there for like centuries. But he's expanding and updating the video game internally. So they're trying to go there, and then Nanette tries to go there and convince Robert to create a safe space for them, for her and her crew to go to. Well, on the outside, Nanette ran out, and she ended up getting hit by a car. Like she was trying to. Well, I can't remember exactly what she was trying to do.
I think she was just like in the street, and they were like talking, and she was like talking about how she was gonna like report him and stuff like that.
Yeah, she was getting ready to like get James in trouble. Then she ends up getting hit by a car, and she ends up in like a coma, like almost like brain dead. Essentially, is what she ends up being. And so Robert ends up telling the clone version of Nanette, like, your body is in a coma, but I can put you back in the body if you decide, or I can make a new space for your crew. So then she was like, well, just make the new space for the crew. He's like, oh, I'm just fucking with you. I can do both. And then he says, I'm a copy and paste. And she's like, why would you copy and paste? Like, copy or delete or cut.
Instead of copy and paste, she wanted to cut and paste.
Yeah, cut and paste is what she wanted it to happen. He was like, no. So then she realizes like he was gonna make a copy of her clone and leave it here with him inside the garage. So that way he wouldn't have to spend the rest of his existence alone. He would have somebody else to talk to. So she ends up fighting with Robert, and then she ends up killing him. Well, that is like the dead man switch for the game, which means that the whole game is going to be destroyed. And so at the last minute, she ends up like putting a little floppy disk inside the computer, and it cuts and pastes her crew out of the game and puts them inside her body. So she ends up back inside her mind, but her crew ends up in like her brain.
Right, they're in her mind as well, pretty much.
Okay.
Or in her body, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a really weird ending. Not a fan of the ending. Didn't like it at all. Now these people instead are stuck inside her brain. They never get to get back to their actual bodies, or they never get any type of conclusion outside of that. And I was like, how will she ever live the rest of her life? She's never going to be able to have a moment alone.
No.
There's always going to be somebody there watching and listening.
Right,
when she's taking a shit. When she's feeling sick.
They can cover their ears. If she's having,
wants to have sex,
if she's having an intimate moment, she can cover her ears. But shit, they don't really see it unless she's like looking down at her taking it.
I don't know. I just feel like it's weird. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it ended.
I thought it was great. It was the twisted ending that I like. I enjoyed.
Twisted ending because they all ended up inside her body.
Yeah. And this wasn't even that twisted. Like they've had way more twisted endings, but it was like, it wasn't it was a happy ending, but it was a twisted happy ending, which I can go for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Anything else you gotta say about the episode?
No, that was it. Probably one of my top 2 favorite episodes. I said I like the continuation of it. I like that, like I said, there was an ending, and it wasn't exactly like the happy ending. So I'm just repeating myself now.
I really like the first one. I'm not a fan. I was not a big fan of this.
I think
no.
It was closure. It was closure.
It wasn't closure. I mean, I guess you can call it closure. It wasn't as exciting because you kind of knew what was happening already. The first one had like the plot twist to it.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening to us. Please remember to follow us on all the socials. The We're Just Saying Podcast on Instagram, the We're Just Saying Pod on TikTok. Also, follow us on YouTube. Send some comments, like, subscribe, share. Do y'all thing out there in the internet world.
Yep. Yeah, Spotify. Find us on there, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, y'all. Bye.